Hermina Glass-Hill is a visionary leader, creation justice activist, and public historian. She's a native Atlantan who was inspired to move to coastal Georgia because of water and spirit. Upon visiting the plantation and escape route of the 19th century runaway freedom seeker, from the water, a gentle and calm breeze whirled around her, and in the wind, she heard the voice of God inviting her to come. Within 3 months, she relocated to the coast to begin telling the story of the life of Georgia Geechee, Susan Baker King Taylor, in her hometown of Midway in Liberty County, Georgia. Hermina is the founding CEO and executive director of the Susie King Taylor Women's Institute and Ecology Center, where the history of slavery, plantation agriculture, and environmental memory intersect at the nexus of human well-being and nature conservation. Annually, the Institute facilitates the Susie King Taylor Mami Wata Rising International Conference. She's the co-creator of the Coastal Black Women's Ocean Memory and Conservation Collective, which advocates on behalf of North Atlantic right whales. In honor of Susie King Taylor, she received the 2018 Georgia Women's Achievement Award for her groundbreaking historical research, writing, and cultural preservation efforts. She received the 2019 Georgia Governor's Award for Arts and Humanities, the NAACP's E.B. Cooper Education Award, and the 2020 Ralph Quarterman Award for Civic Leadership in Progressive Missionary Baptist Association. A servant leader at Savannah Presbytery, Hermina is the administrator of the MK Pentecost Ecology Fund. She also serves as the Coastal Engagement Associate for Georgia Interfaith Power and Light, also known as GIPL, where her work centers around climate change and environmental justice. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and invite Hermina to begin to speak.
Good morning. On behalf of Georgia Interfaith Power and Light, I am quite honored to gather and fellowship with you today. It brings me great joy to join you in mindfulness, appreciation, celebration, and exploration of water as an essential source and symbol for our shared lives and the future of our shared home, Mother Earth. At Georgia Interfaith Power and Light, our mission is to engage communities of faith in stewardship of creation as a direct expression of our faithfulness and as a religious response to global climate change, resource depletion, environmental injustice, pollution, and other disruptions in creation. I invite you all to join GIPL and people of faith across the country for 30 days of climate change. We are celebrating Eco-Faith from Home, 30 days of climate change, and you can visit our website for more information on those activities. My role at GIPL is to engage coastal communities of faith in education, implementation of sustainable practices, and action. And of course, tomorrow is World Water Day. Ain't that good news? World Water Day highlights the importance of water and its employment to advocate for the sustainable management of freshwater resources. It celebrates water and raises awareness of the global water crisis. And a core focus of the observance is to support the achievement of United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 6, which is water and sanitation for all by 2030. Last year, the theme was water and climate change. This year, the theme is valuing water. So it is so fitting that your congregations are celebrating water. The value of water is about much more than the price of water. Water has enormous complex values for our households, food, culture, health, education, economics, and the integrity of our natural environment. Before I get started with my talk, I'd like to share a reading. And it's a reading on Langston Hughes's Negro Speaks of Rivers. The Negro Speaks of Rivers, 1920. I've known rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers, ancient dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like rivers. The Negro Speaks of Rivers stretches from the earliest moments of human civilization all the way to American slavery, emphasizing that Black people have both witnessed and participated in the key moments of human history. In the face of centuries of slavery and oppression in America, the poem's speaker asserts the perseverance of Black cultural roots. The poem argues that people of African descent have not simply been present for all of human history. They have been a guiding force shaping civilization. In the sense, the poem is an ode to Black perseverance. Across the Euphrates River, the Congo River, the Nile River, the Mississippi River, I have known rivers. In our tradition, the tradition of Black folks, it is customary to begin a celebration with a libation ritual. And that ritual is a symbolic prayer that stands as a guiding force in our lives. It speaks to the circle and the spiral of life. It speaks to our connectedness, our oneness. It speaks to the restoration of our lives and the repair that's needed from generation to generation. Typically, that ritual calls upon our ancestors. In this case, water is symbolic of as our mutual source, our essential source, the source that calls us to oneness with it, oneness with one another, and oneness with all life. This morning, I am going to share with you this ritual. And I'm going to state some affirmations. And I would like for you to share in the affirmation. Typically, one might say, and so it is, or one might say, amen. One might say, shalom, salam. But in the African tradition, one would say, ashe, which simply means, and so it is, which simply means amen. This morning, after each affirmation, I am going to pour water. And after I pour water, I would like for you to share in this ritual by saying Ashe, which means, and so it is. This morning, we commit ourselves to the oneness of all life, above ground and below the sea. We commit ourselves to the purification, the protection of all life. Ashe. This morning, we commit ourselves to the sanctity of life. We commit ourselves to the restoration and the repair of our own species as humans. Ashe. This morning, we commit ourselves to the repair, restoration, and sustainability of a world that is in need of healing, of oceans and rivers and creeks and swamps that are in need of healing and repair from the degradation of humans. Ashe. This morning, we commit ourselves to love. We commit ourselves to peace. We commit ourselves to sharing this planet in a sustainable and in a loving way, in a way that promotes healing and in a way that promotes unity of all people, regardless of race, regardless of sex, regardless of religious beliefs, regardless of gender and all forms of separation. Ashe. 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 Thank you for joining in that libation this morning. In The Negro Speaks of Rivers, poet Langston Hughes offers a reflection of the history of African descended people using rivers, waters, as a measure of existence in a godlike manner, like a proud people who were witnesses to creation. Water is an essential source. It is integral to the spiral of life and joins us together in the meaning, the potency, the inspiration, and the hope for our shared futures. Many belief systems have cosmologies that bespeak the origins of life. My Christian tradition informs me that the source of life, God, the supreme God, was present with water before the creation of the worlds. So inherent in this cosmology for me is the spirituality of water. And there are many stories and allegories in which water serves as metaphors of oneness, sacredness, healing, protection, purification, but also destruction. It is this sacred oneness that resonates with me. Water, all waters, oceans, rivers, lakes, creeks, swamps are for me cauldrons, calling us into remembrance of our shared beginnings, our desperate need to build community around her at the proverbial water cooler, where we go to refresh our individual and collective selves, where we hold space to share in the cacophony of our lives at its edge, at the water's edge, where we are able to see our common reflections in the oneness of life. Not only are we looking at ourselves and one another in the water, but hopefully we are able to contemplate what is below the surface, looking up at us. Below the surface, it is teeming with life, imagination, beauty, and hope. All of the marine plantation and wildlife is looking at us, humans, and it is important for us to understand that we are a part of this cauldron. We are part of this biosphere, this ecosphere in the zone of life. We are not separate from our supportive ecosystem. We are an integrated force, an integrated entity in which all of nature is looking to us as part of it for the healing and the repair of the breach that has been caused by our actions. The Great Barrier Reefs need us. The North Atlantic right whales, they need us. The sea turtles, they need us. And we, of course, need them. Human beings need a change of heart to fully respect the sacred gift of water. In their Healing Earth paradigm, Nancy Tuckman and Michael Schuck of the International Jesuit Ecology Project at Loyola University in Chicago says, if we genuinely hold that water has intrinsic value, it will be demonstrated in how we act. Our actions will express a spirituality of respect for Earth's water sources. Conversely, if we routinely act in ways that misuse water, we will display an inner spirit that lacks respect for water, regardless of what we may say about its value. Paying attention to how we act puts us in closer touch with our operating spirituality. Greater awareness of our inner spirit helps us identify the strengths of our true convictions. Along with identifying our core convictions, awareness of human spirituality opens us up to a deeper appreciation for the rich array of spiritual meanings other people and cultures have given to the natural world. This is a valuable resource for our own reflection on the meaning of the natural world and our place in it. A true spirituality of gratitude for the natural world must include recognition that we have abused creation and are in need of the courage to reconcile with nature, to reconcile with our God, to reconcile with others in creation. I am reminded of a few stories that many of you, some of you perhaps may know, that regard water as sacred and protective in the African American culture. Historically, in the late 1700s, there is the story of Ebo Landing. How many of you have heard of the story of Ebo Landing by a show of hands? There is a story of Ebo Landing in which African people were transported to America in the slave trade. And there in St. Simon's, there were approximately 70 African humans on a slave ship. And as they were disembarking to be used for the extraction of their humanity and the extraction of their free labor, these Africans contemplated the cauldron of memory and their place in the Atlantic world, their history in Africa. They contemplated a future in which their lives would be eternally enslaved. Their lives would be encumbered by free labor. Their lives would be encumbered by violence. Their lives would be long to someone else. And they looked back There's the Sankofa bird in the Akan tradition of West Africa. And the bird is seen looking back as it's flying forward. And the bird symbolizes the idea of looking back to pick up what you need in order to fly forward. These Africans, they were looking ahead at a future in which their lives would be encumbered by slavery, year after year, generation after generation, from sun up to sundown, cultivating rice, from sun up to sundown, picking cotton, from sun up to sundown, the potential cell, from sun up to sundown, being torn away from their families. These Africans at Dunbar Creek thought about the possibilities of their future. And like the Sankofa bird, they looked back at Mamiwata, the ocean, the goddess of the ocean, the mother of the water, in their West African cultural and religious traditions. They looked back at all that they had left behind: family, tradition, culture, foodways, cosmology and knowledge systems. And rather than face a bleak future, they decided that death was better. And they jumped overboard and they drowned. But there are many folklores in which the ending is perhaps that maybe they didn't die, that maybe they flew back to Africa, or maybe they were shapeshifters and they swam back to Africa with the whales. Maybe they came back in another form. But what I call on you today is, as we appreciate and celebrate water, I call on you, I call upon each of us, humans, in the spiral of life, to appreciate one another, to value one another, to value all life. I call on each one of us to share responsibility and care for one another. I call on each one of us to find and hold space in our hearts to embody the hope that we have for our world, the hope that we have for tomorrow, to embody it in our souls, to embody it deeply, like a deep river, to embody the possibilities of what tomorrow brings if we can embrace our differences, if we can embrace our skin color, if we can embrace our hair texture, if we can embrace the shape of our eyes, if we could embrace our own humanity. What happened a few days ago in our world, in our state, was an act of total disrespect for humanity, for the humanness in another breathing being. But let us expand our hearts to encompass and love all beings, all humans, all living matter, even those undersea. I call attention to the plight of the North Atlantic right whales, in which you and I and other humans have the ability to protect them. I call on you to speak to your state legislators, your senators, about the protection that is needed for the North Atlantic right whales. We share common traits with them. We are mammals. They are mammals like us. They lactate, they feed their young milk. They have hair. They have a blowhole in which they come up for oxygen. We share those traits with them. You would not wish, as Beth stated in her opening poem, we would not wish that on a child. So why would we wish that on another creature of creation? The plight of the North Atlantic right whales is that, as I stated, we have the solution. And the solution, in theory, is quite simple for this extinct, beautiful animal. The lines and the fishing lines, commercial fishing lines, and the traps for lobster are endangering the North Atlantic right whales in our beautiful ocean. In our beautiful ocean, there's enough for all of us. In our beautiful ocean, there's ample resources for all of us. Theoretically, it's simple that if we just work with fishermen, commercial fishermen, to remove the lines during mating season, during calving season. Because, by the way, the North Atlantic right whales are our state marine mammal. And there's something special and holy and wonderful that this is their ancient waterland. Off the coast of Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida are the ancient birthing rooms for the North Atlantic right whales. Now there is all of this space. The ocean is this big giant space, and humans are refusing to be a part of the solution. But I encourage each of you to become informed about water, which is our largest surface resource, our largest resources on the planet. But it is the one that we dump on more often. There's massive pollution, plastic pollution. The necropsies of these marine animals show that plastic is showing up across the placenta, that plastic is showing up in all of their organs. They're even showing up in humans. So as a creation care minister, I encourage all of you who are part of this beautiful spiral of life to be a part of the solution to healing our planet. Wherever you are and however you can, you are a part of the solution. You can be a part of the solution to the Earth's water crises, whether it's clean drinking water, whether it's saving the Okefenokee swamp, whether it's being a part of the solutions to climate change and the massive impacts that rising sea levels have on vulnerable communities, on ourselves, because climate change doesn't know race. You know that, right? Climate change doesn't have boundaries, but it's the least among us who are impacted the most. And I encourage all of you, all of us who are part of this spiral of life, that our species, the human species, will be better managers, better stewards of our natural resources, particularly water, because it's so essential. Particularly water, because we can't live without it. Particularly water, because it nourishes the soil. It provides habitats to all sorts of animals. And there's a scientist, I like what she says, Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson says that water really is our hero, because water is absorbing most of the carbon dioxide that is accumulating in our atmosphere. And so we owe a great debt of gratitude to water, to Mami Wata, for serving us, for saving us, for protecting us, for healing us, for purifying us. We owe Mami Wata. We owe the water. We owe the oceans, the lakes, the creeks, the marshes, the swamps. We owe them that much respect. And so I encourage you to continue, as you already do, in appreciating water, valuing water, and acting on behalf of our species as healers of the planet. Because we are only as healthy as our own treatment of water. Thank you.